Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's TJR here from TJR's Classic Rock Corner with another live stream video promoting Autism Pride Day. Yes, it's a day for us autistic people. In the middle of Gay Pride Month and Juneteenth is a day for us autistic people. Caught in the crossfire of this crap. Sheesh. You got sausage jockeys and muff divers on one side. I shouldn't say that. And then you have the woe is me people on the other side. We're caught in the crossfire of this. Like Pink Floyd once wrote, caught in the Yeah, I'm still on. Good. Oh, jeez. I better start again. Can you see me, people? If I got delayed, so be it. At least I'm live. And yeah, I didn't know that Autism Pride Day existed until 2020 during COVID. I learned about Autism Pride Day. And those of us who have developmental disorders, autism, and other neurological brain disorders, it's a day for us. In our achievements, especially yours truly with this podcast. The Dire Straits episode got 100 plus plays in just the first day. I'm surprised. Considering it was a relatively old episode, which I had to re-record sections of it, including the rant on Money for Nothing so I wouldn't piss off, underline infuriate, underline offend certain segments. When that verse was pertaining to the glam metal bands. I don't know why they had a boy band in the video, but you could put an image of Looks to Kill from Motley Crue, the She Got the Looks. That verse would fit perfectly, or even Rat from Round and Round. Yeah, I know the Motley Crue fans are going to call off my head. Off with Reardon's head. How dare he disrespect Motley Crue? Motley Crue suck. They haven't been relevant since... Man, oh man. I know. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and bide our own community. Yeah, we know. Lost one, how's it going, eh? Glad I'm on my live feed right now. Talking about autism pride, autism awareness, all that good stuff. Pedro, how's it going, eh? Ken Ray, hope you're real. Super Grand Theft Auto. Never played that game. Silly Billy, what kind of name is that? Ken Ray, I'm a classic rock podcast, and I'm also talking autism today. Because I kind of feel sorry that autism, once again, gets the stolen valor. That's funny. Yeah, Kid Rock is a fake. Yeah, stolen valor. Tampon Timmy Waltz, who suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. No, I don't play Fortnite. I don't play video games, except for classic Atari, Nintendo, Sega. That's it. Most makes me think Fred Durst is not that bad. Fred Durst I'd rather listen to than, My name is Kid. Oh my goodness. Almost got diagnosed with autism, but he said it wasn't the case, just ADD. Yeah, Fred Durst stinks as well, yes. I'm a menace, okay. Almost diagnosed with autism, yeah, ADD. My best friend in the world has ADD. Or quite a few of my closest friends have ADD, so we kind of stick together as ADD, autism spectrum disorder type stick together. We're like brothers and sister. That was my idea to ask them how you were doing. Thank you very much. I'm just hanging out with these people, and there's quite a few people here that are just adhering to the rules, the laws, the guidelines. Sorry, folks, I apologize, but there's a lot of spammers out there, especially when I'm trying to do this show, and you have a lot of morons just... Hey, I said hello, silly Billy. Are you real or are you a bot? If you're as fake as Britney Spears' blonde hair, get the hell out of here. Well, random men, whatever floats your boat, my man. Oh, good. I'm a classic rock podcast, plus I'm talking autism. They also diagnosed me with PTSD, so I don't know if it's really... Yes, autism and ADD have some PTSD. The military operations in the Middle East. You know what? Here's my thing. America should not get involved. Let Israel and Iran fight their battles, because I'm very sick and tired of America being the police to every other country. And I'm not talking the rock and roll band either, to every other country. Let the other countries duke it out. Put on pay-per-view. People pay money to watch that. It's like professional wrestling. It's like a pay-per-view. You know, Israel versus Iran. Death match. Budweiser would jump at that shit in 5 minutes. Even Marlboro would jump at that shit in 5 minutes. Man, oh man. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's my warped sense of humor. I am just, I just want America to concentrate on its economy. Yeah, America keeps acting like it's the big dog needs to keep the other in check. Yeah. I personally am sick and tired of wars, and I'm tired of Israel playing the victim card every time something goes wrong. Netanyahu turns out to be a bully. I'm not anti-Israel, mind you. The people there are great. It's just their government's corrupt. Every country's got a corrupt government. If we had like a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th opinion, this world would be great. Elvis, Elvis rules. Brian D, if you don't have nothing nice to say, you can turn around and get the out of here. God, I'm preaching off the pulpit, aren't I? But yeah, how's it going, Toily? Being autistic is not easy. I was diagnosed when I was 3 years old. My podcast was kind of a few false starts, but now that I'm doing well, I'm doing these live feeds for promotion. To get the show up and running, more listeners. Toily, if you're that fake bot, you're gone. Troy, it's madness. Where am I from? I'm from Massachusetts, United States of America. And personally, I don't agree with the politics here. However, we have the best damn doctors in the entire country. I lived in the South. It was depressing. People expiring before my eyes. New York. Hopefully upstate, not near the city. The city is a ghetto. I was in New York City in 2002. It was a great place at that point in time. But now it's like unrecognizable. No record stores, no nothing. Damn morons who download music. Good. Luckily, you're not near the city. Let's see. Kevis, if you have nothing nice to say, get your ass off my feed. Capiche? Comprende, dickhead? Do I have a condition? I have autism spectrum disorder. Yeah, masshole. That's a joke. Watkins Glen, yes. The place where the band did one of their famous concerts back in the 70s. Immortalized in one of the band live albums, live at Watkins Glen. All right, good. Kevin, sometimes we autistic people have a hard time understanding if you're joking, or if you were saying it with a smile on your face, I'd get it, but sometimes it's hard to read on a computer or on a screen here. Bless you, man. All right, ass cheese. All right. Add as moderator. All right. You're a mod now, ass cheese. Make sure no one comes here and pisses me off. That's all I ask. Glenn Quagmire, he's funny. That character's great. Brian's a sanctimonious. That would be a great celebrity death match, wouldn't it? Brian the dog of Family Guy versus Goliath the dog. I'm a sanctimonious atheist. Why don't you have love in your heart, Brian? Because you're a Christian. Calm down, take it easy. Sheesh, you have anger issues. You voted for Trump. So what if I voted for Trump? I want everyone to coexist. Thank you very much. Sheesh, that's my imitation of if Americans shouldn't help, then they shouldn't have helped Ukraine. Yeah, Biden my time. Yeah. Joe Biden kind of screwed that up. We were dealing with financial problems, and Biden was financing the stupid war in the Ukraine, which we shouldn't have gotten into from the get-go. I mean, my father served in the Army for 22 years, almost a quarter century, and he saw combat. And these conflicts we've had in the last Sleepy Joe, I never liked that prick anyway. And I'm ashamed that the cities in my state voted for that bum. Or as my favorite black pastor, James David Manning called him, Biden my time, Biden. and Camelback Game Black Harris, and the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama, and Michelle the Fist Bumper Obama. Sheesh. Shows you that James David Manning was funny. I became a fan of him when I saw him roasting Obama in 2008. It was hilarious. Obama's a Mac Daddy. He pimps white women and black women. You don't get your campaign started with a woman with big chested white and 54D, double D. His African and he father went a horn after a trashy white woman. So what if I have a baby head? Yeah, I come full circle. I was born bald, and I wound up bald at 22 years of age. He was born trash. I got the word of God in my mouth, and God's not afraid of Obama or anybody else. Okay. Unhide. Ask Cheese you haven't been, Sheesh, what's going on here? Hang on. Hang on. Seth. Looks like I have to get rid of Ass Cheese here. Hang on. Hang on. I have to go back in and try and get... You're banning people that are actually answering my questions. I'll make you a mod, but just don't ban everybody. Why are you banning people without my permission? Because I was having a good conversation with Seth. Sheesh. Hang on. Hang on. How do you unhide people? Hang on. Keep more current selection done. No, that's called you're trying to pull people off that are starting trouble with me. No, if you piss me off, I might ban you, but I'm trying to get these people. No, Ass Cheese. What you're trying to do is you're abusing power with people that I'm actually having a good conversation with. Click and go. And I'm trying to accept donations. I'm trying to. If people want to donate, that's great, because if you go to my page, on my page, there's PayPal, there's Patreon. I'm trying to unblock these people. Hang on. Sheesh, hang on. Community moderation. All right, blocked. Hang on. Participant anyone. Hang on. I'm trying to fix this thing. Trying to get some people banned here. Unbanned here. Yeah. All message. Hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. Seth. Seth, are you there? Click on the name and go to I'm trying to. But Ass Cheese screwed up. Click on the name and go to unhide user. I'm trying that. And what the fuck? Trying to get this fixed. Hang on. Trying to see how you do this. Remember, I'm still relatively new at this damn thing. Start a poll. Chat filter. Community moderation. Let's see. For the channel, community defaults. Hold potentially inappropriate. Okay. Message delay. Live chat. Hang on. Hang on, hang on, hang on. Just bear with me, folks. This guy sold me the magic bus. Mod for me for 5 minutes. I'll sort it. Much appreciated. Because I'm still relatively new at this manage and moderator. I'm going to make you... Tina, I made you a manage and moderator for me. Yeah, Nike. It's an American company. United States of America. Started by a World War II vet named Bill Bowerman. May he lay in peace. And I have to check who these clowns are. Let's see. This guy here, your ass is out of here. Ass Cheese, I disagree. Adidas applies to Hitler. Sieg Heil. Sieg Heil. Well, Ass Cheese, if you're going to start trouble, I'm going to have to ban you. I'm warning you. I don't like Adidas. Yeah, Adidas. Well, since you're acting Nazi, I'm gonna have to. Sorry, but you're gone. No, I'm on my phone. Maybe I should go to my computer. I had to charge my phone anyway because I'm doing the camera because it's the best thing to. As I knock a bottle of iced tea over. Yeah, I have to do it on my phone because it's the best camera angle. As I'm going from my Sign home from inside pen. Sheesh. You're out of here. If you want to pick a fight with me, I'm trying to talk about music, autism, and then I'm dealing with a bunch of nitwits who are trying to start World War III here. Anyway, I digress. I'm talking about Autism Pride Day. Okay. Go on YouTube Studio account. I'll do it from my computer here. Okay, unhiding people. All right, here we go. Unhide YouTube. The things you have to do. Frank Gallagher, you know what? You're an asshole, and your ass is out of here. Don't fuck with me. Pardon me, I apologize for swearing, but the guy, I'm dealing with a lot of favorite classic rock band that's very simple. Pink Floyd. Other favorite band, Rush. Other favorite band, Led Zeppelin. Other favorite band, Queen. Iron Maiden. So many of them. Let's see. How to unhide your YouTube channel. Unhide. Re-enable. How to unhide. How to reactivate. How can I? Yeah. Chili Peppers are I'd rather listen to the Talking Heads than the Chili Peppers. Wildlife. Oh my goodness. Yeah. The Floyd are the greatest band. I love every era. My favorite album of theirs is Wish You Were Here. That's my favorite. Number 2 is Metal. Number 3, The Division Bell. Number 4, Atom Heart Mother. Number 5, Dark Side of the Moon. And I'm not transgender, Michael W. Asshole. Get the fuck out of here. Jeez, I'm sorry, people. I apologize. But I don't like people making fun of me. Okay. Do I listen to new rock? There's a few current bands I like. There's a few of them. The Beatles. If it wasn't for the Beatles, there would be none of the bands would exist. And if it wasn't for Elvis Presley, no one would exist. Because Elvis Presley and the Beatles they all rule. And if anyone don't like the King or the Beatles, get your ass out of here. What's going on here? Well, I'm trying to do my talk about autism and music stuff here, and I'm dealing with these morons. Metal, Metallica, Maiden, Priest, Sabbath. Chuck Berry was good, but his teenage love of his him being peeing on women and stuff. I didn't agree with that. He was a great musician, he was a decent musician, but he was kind of a little kooky, if you ask me. Community here. All right, how do you go to unblock here? I'm looking here. Sum 41. No, poser punk horseshit. That's what I called Sum 41. Okay, community moderation. Hang on a second. Manage moderators, approved users. I'm looking here. Here I am, folks. I'm now trying to find people that were banned. Looking for a few people that were here. There's no sympathy for the dead. Whatever. I'm looking. Just bear with me here. Yeah, I've banned my old podcast people. I'm looking for I had to ban Ass Cheese. I had no choice. On my end, I don't see Seth banned. I don't see him banned at the moment. Geneticus, just bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. On his end, he banned him, but for some reason, I'm still new at this thing. Best guitarist of all time, David Gilmour. That's my favorite guitarist of all time is David Gilmour. David Gilmour, Jimmy Page, Brian May. Zero Cool. You're gone. Don't fuck with me. I'm autistic, but I tend to have a little bit of a foul mouth if you get me all angry and bent out of shape. My favorite guitarists are David Gilmour, Brian May, Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix. It's a shame that drugs ruined him. If he hadn't gotten into cocaine and heroin and was kind of a dink when he was drunk, he'd be still alive. You got that right. Yeah, press the reset button. Hang on. Just a second. Just a sec. I'll work on that. I'm glad that you're Papa Roach. Don't like them. Their only big hit was that song where they ripped off Iron Maiden's Genghis Khan, Last Resort. And they were part of that rap new metal bullshit that was out in the early 2000s. I'm glad they were here today, gone tomorrow. I call them a one-hit wonder. Imagine Dragons. I never really heard their music. Randy Rhoads ruled. How's it going, Jesse James? Let there be light, sound, drums, guitar. Let there be rock. AC/DC for the win. No effects. There's only very few punk bands I like. The Ramones, the Sex Pistols, some Clash. Hey, Michael Nolan, good to see you, my brother. It's glad you're here. Sheesh, I have some familiarity, and I'm going to make you a mod here. So I'm adding you as chief moderator. So I'm got quite a few people that are listening to my show, watching my feed. The Pixies, not a fan of them. I'm not into that alternative rock thing. I mean, Nirvana is closer in Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, but Alice in Chains was more heavy metal. But I don't like the Pixies. Then again, they spawned the Horse Breeders, those one-hit wonders from the 90s that were all over the place my senior year of high school. I mean, I was listening to Dio and Maiden and Priest and stuff. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Cheek Guy, I banned Cheek. Appreciate that, Michael. You are the man. And yeah, Nirvana. To quote Joe Elliott of Def Leppard, there's a reason Nirvana and Pearl Jam happened because all the bands pillaged the Def Leppard sound. Your Wingers, your Warrants, your Slaughters, your Bon Phonies, they all stole from Def Leppard. Yeah, Alice in Chains. Here's a kicker. They were actually heavy metal. And they were opening for the likes of Anthrax, Megadeth, Slayer, Testament on the 1991 Clash of the Titans tour. I remember because I was a freshman in high school. And then, then Alice in Chains opened up for Van Halen, or Van Hagar, or as I call them, my ex-podcast, Rock Metal Combat, called them Vangina. Sorry, folks, but that's, yeah. But yeah, I think and then Alice in Chains may have sung about doom and gloom, but they were the biggest bunch of goofballs. Strippers on stage during Man in the Box. I was like, sheesh, Van Halen fans got spoiled. And then, Van Halen would be, I'm 49, I'll be 50 in January. And then all of a sudden during towards the end of the tour, Alice in Chains were on stage in Speedos mocking Van Halen's walk, the Sammy Hagar walk on stage. Oh my goodness. But yeah, Van Halen, Alice in Chains were amazing. Voivods, they were a decent band. Oh my goodness. John Travolta, great actor. Ween. All I think of is Beavis and Butthead making fun of them. Push the little pansy to make them come up. Hang on. My birthday is January the 24th. Thank you very much. January 24th is my birthday. Born in 1976, 5:46 p.m., Saturday night. After a Boston Bruins game where Terry O'Reilly scored a hat trick. That's where I got my first name, Terrence. Terry O'Reilly, number 24, the Boston Bruins. Michael, you and I are both Aquarians. We Aquarians stick together, my man. We got to stick together. And JCM, Led Zeppelin Stories, he's also my brother. And I'm glad I listened to you and JCM I'm now doing well on my own. I mean, I had to find guys that were um, not bad influences. I mean, Michael Borland and JCM are why I've gotten better. I'm holding the camera with one hand. So let me try this. Breaking free from my past with my past with RMCP and they're associated. I watched ET when I was 6 going on 7 in December of 82. And I'm not going to lie, I actually broke down like a baby when the movie, yeah, Aquarians Unite, brother. Yeah, and I felt bad for my parents that they had to spend extra money after Christmas because my birthday 1 month after Christmas, then my brother's 3 weeks after that, just before Valentine's, the day after Valentine's. Yeah, we autism spectrum disorder people have photographic memories. And Steve Miller Band. Well, Steve Miller Band, I got to tell you, amazing. Fly Like an Eagle, Book of Dreams, The Joker. In fact, Steve Miller opened for Pink Floyd. And actually, because I'm the biggest Pink Floyd fan, but I have to say this, Pink Floyd got embarrassed at Networth by Steve Miller because Pink Floyd were trying to do a great show, but Rick Wright's Hammond organ went out of tune at Networth 1975, and he had to use other keyboards. It just didn't sound right. And the Dark Side set, it was just one of their worst gigs. I know I shouldn't be listening to bootleg concerts, but I'm such a fanatic. I was like, well, I better hear this. And I'm like, yeah, I can see why Steve Miller upstaged him. Then the Animals tour, every show on that tour was just about great, except for Montreal, which was a disaster. I mean, the band played all right, but the vibe was bad. If it wasn't for Montreal, there would have been no Wall, though. But I've done an episode on the Wall where I go for 4.5 hours on that album. Oh my goodness. Phoenix and Raven, you took care of an autistic guy. You could shoot a basketball from anywhere, memorize every word, every classic 80s movie. Thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. Phoenix and the Raven. Well, I played basketball when I was a kid. I was in a special needs league. I set a record that's never been broken, 20 points in a game. I set a record in baseball. I played in a special needs baseball league, and I smashed 4 home runs in a game. I actually wound up having a four. They had to wind up forfeiting the game because I hit every ball out of the park because I was having a bad day in school. I was bullied, and I took my frustrations out on the ball, and the darn thing went into the parking lot of a department store. True story. And I retired from sports to join marching band because they needed another drummer, percussionist. Because drums are my first love. My favorite drummers are Neil Peart, John Bonham, Phil Collins, Keith Moon, Carl Palmer, Roger Taylor, all those guys. I mean, being a drummer, yeah. Mr. Warlock, I had an older brother, my Irish twin who's 11 months older than me. He took bullies and made them and ate them for breakfast. You saw Queen and Duran Duran and Glasbury. God bless you. Yeah, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I mean, Bonham was my first drum influence, as was Nick Mason, as was Keith Moon. And then Neil Peart, when I heard Exit Stage Left, yeah, when Neil Peart came along, I heard that drum solo on Exit Stage Left on the radio when I was 14. That sold me on being a drummer. So then I learned that drumming was an exercise. And having to learn his parts was a nightmare because, if I made one mistake, I'd have to start over. And then my high school had a drum kit, so yeah, Bonham is the master. I mean, I swear, John Bonham was born with a metronome on his left foot. God gave him a metronome for a left foot instead of a left foot. Um, do I like Phil Collins? Yeah, one of the best drummers in history. Um, if I'm blue, if I was green, would die. Yeah, whatever. Fish, I can't comment. I keep my political views to thyself. I am trying to. I play drums, guitars, bass guitar, percussion, keyboards. In order, I like a subpar keyboard player. Excellent for quasi slow fit hands at guitar. I'm like number 4 in guitar, number 3 bass guitar, number 2 percussion, number 1 drums. As I get older, I have to watch my drumming skills because I don't want to wind up like Peart, may he lay in peace, because he developed tendonitis in his arms, and that's a killer for a drummer, especially if you're playing at lightning speed. In fact, I played with lightning speed one day in high school that I was so angry that I actually wound up punching a hole in the bass drum head, the kick drum, because I was playing so hard, and I got hit in the head by a bully. They threw a koosh ball, almost knocked out this eye. I flew off the drum riser, and I actually wound up standing up, jumping over the drum kit, and running after the bully. I couldn't find him until the next day, and then I was about to punch him. Then my biological brother, who I jokingly called the Incredible Hulk, took care of him for me. He was the Incredible Hulk. I was to him Spider Man, because that was our favorite comic book heroes when we were kids, Hulk and Spider Man, respectively. So when Spider Man got bullied by bullies, he'd just summon his brother the Hulk, and the Hulk would come to the rescue. And I'm just looking at this. Yeah, yeah, Rick Allen. Yeah, that was a tragic story. Him losing his arm in that car crash was very, very sad. I mean, it was horrible. I remember I was actually 8 years old when that happened. It just happened a few weeks before my ninth birthday. It was all over MTV when it was music television. J.J. Jackson broke the news. J.J. Jackson was my favorite VJ on MTV in those days. J.J. Jackson. He always played the good shit. I mean, Nina Blackwood played the eh. I mean, at times he would play Iron Maiden. He would play Rush. I mean, he was a huge fan of Rush. Huge fan of Def Leppard, Pink Floyd, all those bands. Mark Knopfler was the VJ when the Led Zeppelin reunion happened. I agree with JCM about the Led Zeppelin reunion at Live Aid. It was a good performance. It was actually the performance that got me into Zeppelin when I was 9, believe it or not, because I heard the name but never heard their music or saw them perform. And my mother goes, when Phil Collins said Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, I was like, that was Led Zeppelin? She's like, yeah, watch and learn. I'm like, okay, watch the performance. So what if there was some, what do you call it? Some bum notes here and there. It's rock and roll. And they weren't the worst band at Live Aid. I mean, I can name you plenty worse. I mean, rock and roll is supposed to be about spontaneity. Jimmy Page's guitar was going through a flanger. That's why it sounded so odd. It wasn't out of tune. It was going through a flanger. Think Eddie Van Halen ain't talking about love. Robert Plant's voice struggling wasn't new either. Listen to any concert bootleg where he starts the show with rock and roll back in 73, 75. He struggled with it. So it wasn't the first time Robert struggled with it. In Whole Lotta Love, it was the only performance that Robert Plant sang to the low note rather than the high notes. And Phil thought he was doing the album version, so he goofed up. While Tony Thompson nailed the drum fill, Phil Collins came in, he's like, oops, because he was listening to the album version on Concord, learning the album version to refresh his memory. And his drums are barely noticeable in the mix. Because if you listen on headphones, you can barely hear his drums because Tony Thompson's loud in your face. I don't want to I don't want to disrespect the dead here because Tony Thompson's no longer here, but excuse me, he was the main loud drummer. But when Phil played and you could hear him through headphones like I did, he did pretty well except for that little blunder on Whole Lotta Love, which was his fault. Yeah, Phil made anyone sound good. In fact, he was Robert Plant's drummer on his first 2 solo albums. Cozy Powell was too. Cozy was another favorite drummer of mine. I actually got to see Phil Collins play the drums once on Genesis's 2007 tour, the Turn On Again tour in Boston. Peter Gabriel, he was the original lead singer for Genesis. Lamb Lies Down, um, Watcher of the Skies, Supper's Ready. So when people tell me use that phrase instead of dinner's ready or dinner's served, they say supper's ready. You don't see me for about 25 minutes. Um, Man, oh man. And listening to a lot of these bands are just amazing. And the fact that I think God gave me a brain with autism spectrum disorder so I could accept music. And you can thank my mom for me getting into rock and roll very early on in life. And she used to play me, I kid you not, Dark Side of the Moon just to lull me to Betty by. When everything failed, Dark Side of the Moon would be put on the turntable and I'd be out like a light. I think that's why I'm such a huge Floyd fan. And by the time I was, you know, it's funny. That just music is therapy, yes. And I can remember what I got for every birthday from 1983 forward for albums. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Diver Down by Van Halen. Sheesh. On this Autism Pride Day, I can remember some things I got from my birthdays over the years. Here's an example here. Just bear with me. I'm live, folks. I'll take care of that. What do I do for a living? I take care of my elderly retired Army Sergeant father. It's a full time job, but somebody's got to do it. Taking care of my dad is no problem. Chili Peppers. I hate that guy. Give it away now. God, they were horrible. Didn't like him then, and I sure as hell don't like him now either. Thank goodness I was ensconced in Queen's catalog by that point in time. Yeah, 22 years in the U.S. Army. My mother was worked in a grocery store, and unfortunately, a car accident kind of took her out of commission, and she had some health issues for the last 2 decades plus decades of her life. She passed in 2007, by the way. My mom. May my mom lay in peace. She would have been 81 at the end of this month. And part of America am I from? The Northeast, Massachusetts. Just kidding. Massachusetts isn't all that bad. Actually, autism spectrum disorder. It's not called Asperger's anymore. And you can blame that shooting with that dude. That what was it? The shooting at Sandy Hook. Lanza. My mom was a great lady. My mom had her issues. I'm not gonna lie. And unfortunately, she couldn't kick a couple of things. Um, Marijuana, tobacco, and my dad was in the army, so he couldn't be near either. So my parents split, and I went to live with my dad, but I still had a good relationship with my mom, despite the fact I decided not to live with her. Not because I didn't want to, but I didn't want to see her self-destruct. And thank you very much, Tina. I appreciate that. Trying to answer all these questions, and oh my goodness, and it's just like the only band my mom hated of the bands that she got because she was a rock music fan, but she absolutely disdained Queen. She could not stand Queen. I don't know why. I'm like, Mom, seriously? Well, it's hard to. She used to mock Freddie Mercury, that I can tell you. And she had no idea that the other three members of the band, the other three members of Queen, were not like Freddie. I'm like, Mom, the drummer sleeps with more women than Robert Plant. Actually, him and Robert Plant rival in who gets more women. Brian May, married and kids. Well, he cheated on his first wife with an actress. And then John Deacon was the member of the band who was faithful to his wife, and he's still married to her 50 years later. So Deaky was the only one faithful to his wife. And he's got 6 kids. Bless Deaky. Good old John Deacon. He was my favorite member of the band. And one of the reasons why I kept playing bass. And he's probably my favorite bass player. He didn't have to play too flashy. But his favorite bass players were other favorite bass players of mine. Chris Squire of Yes, Paul McCartney. Chris Squire, of course. I mean, how can anyone hate Chris Squire of Yes? He would just play that bass at a lightning speed. Him and John Entwistle. And yeah, John Entwistle was another favorite of John Deacon. And Brian May of Queen, his favorite guitarists, Hendrix, Page, Beck, those 3 cats, man. And Roger Taylor's favorite drummer, John Bonham. Yeah, and like I said, it was just in the early 90s, getting into Queen was very difficult. Actually, it wasn't difficult for me because the greatest hits album I had, and it was just decent. What about the Metallica bass players? Robert Trujillo is awesome. Jason Newsted was okay. And Cliff Burton, the man, the myth, the legend. May Cliff lay in peace. And now that they have Robert Trujillo, they can play the Call of Cthulhu live. No problem. Love that track. Yeah. And Manuel wants to know what I think of Kiss. I saw Kiss 4 times. 3 times the original lineup, once with the last lineup. That was before lip syncing. Good thing I stopped seeing them after 2004. I missed the Aerosmith tour because I moved to South Carolina. That turned out to be a disaster. Oh my goodness. Trevor Wilburys, of course. Tom Petty, may he lay in peace. George Harrison, may he too lay in peace. Roy Orbison, may he also lay in peace. All you got is, I don't know what I'm singing. Bob Dylan and, what's that group? Jeff Lynne of ELO. Deacon could write. Yeah, Deacon, one of the best bass players. I'm doing an episode on the game. I actually had to re-record it because the original episode that I aired a number of years ago was, man, that original episode on the game was just like, boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's just, I just didn't like the way it turned out. And, sheesh. I gotta get rid of Big L. I apologize. Yeah. Yeah, Big L. Anyway, crazy. Yeah. My second oldest sister is a nurse. And I have a nurse in the family. My second oldest sister. And as I was saying, I don't do soccer. I'm a Yankee. My favorite football team, American football team, is the New England Patriots. But then again, I'm from New England, so we have to be Patriots fans. In high school football team, because I went there, and was Whitman Hanson Panthers. Although my heart for the team went after my brother left, because when I was in band watching my brother play, he was one of the best defensive line dudes. He used to knock the opponents over. I was like, great. And I was also a double agent for to spy on the other bands to see how bad they were. McVicker. Yeah, the movie McVicker was Roger Daltrey. And yeah, Roger Daltrey did the soundtrack as well. It was a great, and that soundtrack was a Who album in all but name, because John Entwistle played on it, Pete Townsend played on parts of it, Kenny Jones was the drummer on most of it. If you take out the 2 instrumentals and you put in songs from Pete Townsend and John Entwistle, it would have been a Who album. But the Who just signed to Warner Brothers and did Face Dances, which is a good record. I do love Face Dances, don't get me wrong. But the Who kind of changed in a way after Keith Moon passed. Although Face Dances is a hell of a record. And it had some competition preventing it from #1 here in the States. All 3 great albums. Arc of a Diver by Steve Winwood, highly underrated album. The album with While You See a Chance, the title track, I gotta give that album another spin. #2 was High Infidelity by REO Speedwagon. My opinion on the REO fiasco, I'll keep to myself. And the #1 was a band that was great when the classic lineup was a unit. Paradise Theater by Styx. People can say what they want about Dennis DeYoung, but deep down in his heart, he was a Beatle first. He was a Beatle fan. In fact, the song First Time on Cornerstone was his love for Paul McCartney. The Long and Winding Road, which people said, oh, it's Barry Manilow. I go, no. What he was trying to do is his own Long and Winding Road. And that song had one of Tommy Shaw's best guitar solos, which I think Tommy has amnesia about playing the guitar solo on it, but that was one of his best solos. Especially with that, I think it was either the Les Paul or his Explorer through those high-watt amplifiers, was to die for. So I have to defend Dennis and his contributions to Styx, because I think what Styx did between 1972 and 99 was great. I mean, yeah, and I'm a fan of Kilroy Was Here. It took me 12 years to get into that album, but it happened. It's because the album cover, when I was a small child, gave me nightmares. That and Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon sleeve. The news of the world cover never bothered me. But two evil-looking robots and the werewolf on Bark at the Moon ran for the bedroom like a lunatic. U.S. versus U.K. rock bands. Huh, tough question. If you dig down deep, there are a lot of great U.S. bands, but the influx of British bands kind of made some of those American bands kind of pale. You know, I mean, unless you were the Eagles, everything up they did up through '79, they did no wrong. The last album they did, Long Road Out of Eden, was too country, too Nashville for me. But everything up to the long run was perfect. Nirvana or the Stones? Well, the Stones for longevity. Nirvana, they only did 3 albums. Had they continued and Kurt Cobain not suffer the way he did, then maybe Nirvana would be up there. Excuse me. But the Rolling Stones run of 1969 to 74 alone, right there. 68 to 74. Beggar's Banquet. Let It Bleed. Sticky Fingers. Exile. Goat's Head Soup. And It's Only Rock and Roll. Metallica or Queen? Oh boy. Well, Queen did not do a bad album. All 15 Queen albums I enjoy, including Hot Space. Some people may think I've lost my mind, but it's called timing. Metallica made 3 not so great albums. I wasn't a fan of Load, nor Reload, nor Saint Anger. I almost threw in the towel until Death Magnetic came out. When I heard Death Magnetic, they redeemed themselves. And with Beyond Magnetic, the album of outtakes, redeemed themselves even more. Hardwired was even better. 72 Seasons, their most recent album, best thing they've done since And Justice for All, in my opinion. Saw that tour last year at Gillette Stadium. Night number 2. And they played my favorite song off the new album, Inamorata, which is 12 minutes in length. Some people complain about a 12-minute song. I love 12-minute tunes, especially when they change dynamics and change tempos. Coldplay. My opinion of them, I don't want to offend you, Manuel, but I just don't get it. To me, they're like a poor man's U2. I tried. I mean, it's funny. And don't ask me between Rush or Pink Floyd. It's like trying to choose between my children. Because I love both bands equal. I got to see Pink Floyd one time. That was 1994, the Division Bell Tour. Best concert I've ever been to in my life. And no, I was not on drugs. It was my senior year of high school, and I skipped my prom to see it. I already said I don't like Coldplay. It just does nothing for me. I'll listen to Judas Priest or Pantera before I put on Coldplay. Deep Purple or Black Sabbath? Michael, that's a tough question. To be honest, I gotta go with Sabbath. You know why? I love every era of that band. Some Deep Purple eras, um, of Purple, I wasn't a fan. I didn't like Slaves and Masters. Sabbath, on the other hand, Sabbath, I love the original Ozzy era. I love the Dio era. Most people forget that. Ian Gillan, Born Again. He sang phenomenal. I think it's the best thing Ian Gillan ever sang was Born Again. Glenn Hughes did the following album, Seventh Star. Probably the best thing he ever did because there's no screaming from Glenn. When Glenn goes into shriek mode, I'm like, enough of the screaming already. Tony Martin, most underappreciated singer. That lineup should have been big. And that was the first time I saw Black Sabbath was 1995 with Tony Martin. Motorhead was the opening act. And there was, I think, like 1,000 people in a 20,000 seat amphitheater. It was like an intimate show. I lost my hearing for 3 days, but it was great to see Tony Iommi for the first time. Then I saw Black Sabbath again in 2007. Then again in 2016. 2007 is Heaven and Hell with Dio. And someone asked me, Iron Maiden or Judas Priest? Although I've seen Judas Priest twice, I got to go with Iron Maiden. I mean, Maiden. That was like the game-changing heavy metal band for me when I was 11 years old. although I was already a fan of, I was intrigued by the videos for Flight of Icarus as a kid, 2 Minutes to Midnight. Then I saw Wasted Years and I said, take my money, and I went and bought Somewhere in Time. Then Seven Son was the first album I got the week of its release, and then went back and bought every last Maiden album. And I saw Maiden on their Brave New World tour in 2000. Judas Priest, I saw 2 tours. Angel of Retribution 2005 with Queensryche opening up when they still had 4 original members. In 2009 with Whitesnake opening, and that was the last tour with KK. I mean, to me, it's not Priest without KK. You needed KK Downing's ass kicking Hendrix like guitar playing. And no offense to Richie Faulkner, but he just doesn't, he's not, it's like it's turning more, the last 2 albums are kind of more like a Rob Halford solo album, the best Rob Halford solo record. But it's missing the KK spice. Maiden's last few albums, Book of Souls was great. I enjoyed Senjutsu. I would have enjoyed Book of Souls even more if Rattle That Lock from David Gilmour not come out 2 weeks later and distracted me. Every time Gilmour puts out an album, I have to put everything else on the shelf because I'm such a huge Floyd fan. And yeah, I'm one of the rare breed of Pink Floyd fans who have not ever done a drug in his life. Yeah, KK is the man. Greatest album of all time. Well, I have several. I'll name a few of them. Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd is my all-time favorite. Hotel California by the Eagles is also in my top 5. Night at the Opera by Queen is also in there. Signals by Rush. Yeah, a lot of people don't like that album, but I think it's amazing. It's one of my favorites. It's the album after Moving Pictures. And my other favorite would probably be, geez, this is tough. I'm trying to pick another greatest album of all time. If it's in the heavy metal vernacular, it's got to be Ride the Lightning by Metallica. Slayer, it's an acquired taste. Raining Blood, great record. South of Heaven, I never heard. Season of the Abyss is a masterpiece, and the live decade of aggression or whatever it was called. That was a phenomenal live record. Also, I kind of lost the plot with them after that. I mean, that came out at the time. Nevermind was slowly but surely climbing up the charts. Everyone thinks grunge was this fast thing hit. I'm like, no, it was a gradual build. Because in '92, they were still showing some of the glam bands, some of the older bands on MTV. And they kind of, yeah, you got that right. Rush is still the best. Remember when they aired the video for Roll the Bones on MTV? I was shocked. Because by '91, Rush videos were like hard to watch. Unless you were homesick with a bad stomach virus. And yeah, every time I saw a Rush video on MTV, I watched it religiously. The first thing I ever saw from them on MTV was Limelight, live from Exit Stage Left. Then I think I saw Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, the Distant Early Warning video when that came out, Big Money, Mystic Rhythms. Timestamp still wasn't played as much. Show Don't Tell was played an awful lot from Presso. Yeah, in the midst of Skid Row mania, Rush eked in a top 10 video on Dial MTV. Gotta love those 3 boys from Canada. And yeah, I saw Rush not once, but 5 times. Counterparts tour, 3 weeks before Pink Floyd in '94. I went to that show sick as a dog with a sore throat. Actually, it was tonsillitis and strep throat all mixed. Almost had to have my tonsils removed. Saw that, and then I also saw Test for Echo or Leave That Thing Alone, and 2112 were recorded for different stages. I was at that show. Vapor Trails Tour 2002, R30 2004, and then Snakes and Arrows 2007. I should have seen them more. I should have seen the Time Machine Tour, but I was distracted by Roger Waters' The Wall. In retrospect, I should have gone to Time Machine instead because I got tricked by Roger Waters claiming that he was singing when he was lip syncing. And he had me fooled very good until I watched the Hurricane Sandy benefit in 2012 where I caught him red-handed miming. And I was very depressed because in my heart I really wanted to believe that he had changed, that he grew up, whatever that means. Manuel, that bit of Townsend hitting Abby Hoffman with the guitars on the Who box set, the Kids Are the 30 Years of Maximum R&B box set. I think it's a pile of shit while John Sinclair rots in prison. Fuck off my fucking stage. Sorry. Miming. That's where I draw the line. I get razzed by Roger fans. Oh, you missed. I'm like, who gives a rat's ass? I draw when you go Milli Vanilli or Britney Spears, I'm done. And it's a shame because I saw Roger 5 times. 1999, he was singing live practically, except for Every Stranger's Eyes, of course. Sang live on everything except for Every Stranger's Eyes in 2000, the high part of that track. But he sang everything else live that night in 2000. 2007, I left that early because of a thunderstorm in Florida, typical Florida weather. And, excuse me. And 2010, I saw The Wall in Boston, and then I saw the Wall again in 2012. And then after that performance, I saw at Fenway Park. Then I saw the Hurricane Sandy thing on television as it happened at Madison Square Garden, and that's where he basically the illusion of him singing live was all a ruse because I really wanted to believe that he was singing live. It broke my heart because once you go there, I'm done. I can say this for Rush at least. At least Rush, Geddy Lee struggled those last 3 tours, but at least he was singing live. Because Geddy struggled, but his bass playing was still on top of its game. Alex Lifeson played with arthritis. You got to applaud Lurks. And Neil Peart was dealing with tendonitis, ear infections, flu, you name it, he was dealing with it, but he persevered. And then the calluses on his feet, a foot fungus was one of the major reasons why he wound up retiring, plus the tendonitis in his arms, plus the fact he had a small daughter you want to spend time with. Yeah. Yeah, his mother had a hard time pronouncing Gary. That's his real name, Gary Lee Weinrib. And the Polish accent was so thick, it came out as Gary. That's my best Polish imitation. I cannot do Polish to save my life, but that's basically what it is. And yeah, Geddy Lee for the win. In fact, I had to talk to him on Rockline in 2007 about I forgot what it was about. Oh yeah, about the thanks to David Gilmour and the Snakes and Arrows album. And I goofed up on talking to them. I was thank you very much because I almost goofed up on what location Rush was playing in Florida in 2007. I almost said Port St. Lucie because this is where I was living at the time. I was like West Palm Beach because it was my 5th attempt getting on Rockline to talk to Rush. I finally got through after 5 attempts in 5 years. In those days, you could call in, talk to your favorite rock star, pick a question that mattered, that some people would know, and you're off to the races. The last rock line I was on, yeah, of course I knew that. Yeah, Pink Floyd created the quadraphonic sound thing with the azimuth coordinator. They practically invented surround sound because then Emerson, Lake, and Palmer would have to create their own quad system. Yes had to create their own. Pink Floyd were ahead of the game. That's why I love those guys. I talked to Nick Mason about his first solo album, Fictitious Sports. He was promoting his book Inside Out, but I was talking about I brought up his first solo album and asked him if he was trying to get as far away from the Pink Floyd sound as possible, and it turned out it was a jazz fusion record, but I didn't mind. That first Nick Mason solo album, Fictitious Sports, highly underrated. One of my top 5 Pink Floyd solo projects. Unlike Profiles, which was horrible, was drum machines. I'm like, Nick's a drummer. He should be drumming on those things, not using drum machines. That's where I kind of. His first solo album was great, which was Fictitious Sports. And the second one had its moments, but too 80s for my current taste. And then Why Did the Eye was like a couple of nice instrumentals, it's film music. Probably my least favorite of the Pink Floyd solo projects. Most people don't know about that. And trying to think. And the last person I talked to on Rockline was Dennis DeYoung about the Styx song Castle Walls, which is my favorite Styx song of all time on my favorite Styx album, The Grand Illusion. which was the very first album I ever bought my own money when I was 9 years old on cassette. Most people don't know that. But yeah, I was a fan of rock and roll growing up. So when I got Grand Illusion on tape, I managed to play that thing repeatedly to the breaking point the tape wound up snapping at some point. Good old Styx. The Grand Illusion. That was actually the fourth Styx album I heard. Yeah, the first I heard was Paradise Theater. No, Cornerstone was the first. Paradise Theater was second. Then I got Caught in the Act Live when that came out. Then I got Cornerstone on cassette, Paradise Theater on cassette. Then I got The Grand Illusion, then Pieces of Eight. I was used to the live versions on Caught in the Act, so when I heard the studio versions from the Grand Illusion tunes on the studio album, I was like, for some reason I just prefer the 83 live versions of Come Sail Away. And, you know, the guitar solo on the live version of Come Sail Away from the Caught in the Act album was, I think, one of Tommy's best guitar solos. Listen to a lot of Beach Boys. Brian Wilson was a genius. He sure was. I'm eulogizing him on the beginning of my Little River Band episode, which is coming soon, first under the wire. I'm eulogizing quite a few rock stars who have gone to part in the Led Zeppelin album, In Through the Outdoor. Oh my goodness. And, Pet Sounds is one of my favorite albums. It's amazing. I mean, I didn't know how great that album was until I was working at Quincy Records and Tapes in 1999, 2000. It was a record store, independent record store, so they put it on. I was like, I know this song. Then I heard the rest of the album, and I was like floored. I was like, yeah, what a great record it is. And I wasn't just saying for kicks and giggles either. And if you can find the two mixes version on CD, which is the mono mix for the first half of the disc and then the stereo mix for the second half, try and find that. It's on Amazon. If you can find it, go to a subseller. Smile should have been the follow up to Pet Sounds. Good Vibrations is one of the best tracks. And we went from surf music to more complex things. And he was a great arranger, great songwriter, great producer. And to me, there was no Beach Boys without him. And it was kind of cool to see him singing backgrounds with REO Speedwagon at Live Aid in 1985. Yeah, he sure was. Because I was watching quite a few things that the Beach Boys did in the 80s. It was quite funny. Um, Backing vocals with REO Speedwagon at Live Aid, backing vocals for Julio Iglesias on his cover of The Air That I Breathe. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the same guy who duetted with Diana Ross and Willie Nelson on the same record, who bookended with duets. The Diana Ross was first, and then Willie Nelson was last. All the girls I loved before, after Saturday. Sheesh. It's hard to, I mean, I'm not mocking Willie Nelson, mind you, but I'm doing my best Willie Nelson imitation. That Texas accent, I can't get that down perfectly. And it's funny that Diana Ross, a number of years later, wound up um, sheesh. Scooby Doo, you're out of here. Your ass is fired as of today. Anyway, and I'm funny that on one of Diana Ross's later albums in the 90s, on a ballad featured the sax player from Supertramp, John Helliwell. What's your favorite song? Whew. If you want to count a 26-minute piece as a song, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, parts 1 through 9. Just about everything from Pink Floyd. Except for Heartbeat Pigmeat on Zabriskie Point, which was 3 minutes of gung, 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 gung. That was too trippy. Yeah. Paul McCartney was a major Brian Wilson fan. Even David Gilmour of Pink Floyd said he wanted to create harmonies, and the band that helped him do harmonies perfectly were the Beach Boys. Because he heard Beach Boy harmony because he was the rock and roller in Pink Floyd. And when he wanted to do multi-part harmonies, he would have people singing with him and or having to do it all himself. I'm talking about autism and classic rock stuff, Angel. Angel B, or whatever you call yourself. As long as you're nice and ask a good music question or a question about autism, I'll be kind to you. if you're trolling and trying to start trouble, Yngwie Malmsteen. Yeah, he's he's. I mean, he's a great guitarist. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes I'd rather hear a simple guitar solo that just moves you with the slow fingers rather than hearing 20 zillion notes that sound like an angry bee going. Vzz, vzz, vzz. To quote Gene Simmons, I'd rather hear a simple guitar solo that hits you right in the ribs rather than sound like an angry bee. Vzz, vzz. You just want to kill that thing. Shut up. Good old Gino. Have I heard of Barbershop Quartet cover of God Only Knows? No, the one of the best covers of God Only Knows belongs to, believe it or not, David Bowie on his 1984 album Tonight. A lot of people don't like that album, but I actually have a little emotional attachment to it because it was the second Bowie album I heard. First was Let's Dance, then Tonight. It's funny, I started with the EMI things and I kind of went backwards. Um, let's see. Big Erm, thank you very much, Big Erm. Appreciate you coming out, joining the feed. Another new podcast episode will be in a few weeks' time because I got a heat wave coming up amongst other things. New episodes, old but new, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. Hello from Canada. How's it going, eh? Old Bob and Doug jargon. Bob and Doug McKenzie. Funniest. Well, was one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, Strange Brew. One of the funniest comedy albums I heard, Great White North. And you can thank Rush for exposing that to me. It was all on Up Close. With Rush Up Close aired in November '91. And that's what sent me looking for Great White North, although it was out of print at the time. Luckily, my sister Tony, may she too lay in peace, her ex-boyfriend at the time, had Great White North on vinyl, so I made a copy of the album on cassette tape. Played the hell out of it. Okay, take off! I win the beer hunter. Oh my goodness. Like one tip, don't play with your brother. Wife. Oh my god. Tom Schultz from Boston, another perfectionist. This is Tom Scholes in the studio for Boston's Third Stage album. Tom Scholes was a genius. Man, oh man. I was not ever a fan of Oasis. I called them a poor man's Beatles. Blur, on the other hand, I only know two songs from them. That song where they play at baseball games. Woohoo! That one in Park Life, which featured Phil Daniels from Quadrophenia, who played Jimmy in the film version of Quadrophenia, doing the Cockney accent thing. That Beavis and Butthead roasted that video, but I think the song was hilarious. And yeah, I'd rather listen to Blur any day of the week, twice on Sunday, than the poor man's Beatles, Wonderwall. Yeah, because when I had one of my old podcasts, which was Rock Metal Prog Central, it turned into a civil war between Oasis versus the Smiths. Yeah, Radiohead, another band that some people called the poor man's Pink Floyd. At least you can say what you want about the Floyd, but they had multiple singers in the band. I can't get through Tom York's whining now. In fact, I kind of grew over what's the word I'm looking for? Radiohead fatigue, because especially when you're dealing with a delay, if a delay, you're out of here. You're one of those excuse me, sexual perverted type things, and I'm not into porn. I see what you're trying to do. I'm not that stupid. Anyway, Radiohead. I didn't like them, then I liked them, now I can't stand them. It's funny. So it's like in the movie Can't Buy Me Love. Totally geek to totally chic to totally freak. Yeah, you were an outcast, you were a loser, then you were loved, then you were an outcast. They cast you off the ship. Man, oh man. Whew. I mean, being a high school student in the 90s, Dirty Honey, what type of rock band are they? I've heard the name, but I never really sat down and listened to their music. I better give them a whirl. And doing all these live streams, it can go on for another 20 minutes before I have to go finally have dinner. a little late in the dinner, but I wanted to do Autism Pride Day and talk about how great my autistic induced memory is. Not showing off for kicks and giggles either. But Norm Macdonald, I'm not a fan of some later Saturday Night Live. One of my favorite shows is South Park. Eric Cartman is a little punk. I mean, he's the perfect textbook anti-hero you can think of. And people think, oh, Scott Tinnerman, him killing him. I'm like, what about Wendy killing the teacher? That was worse. Hope you and your family are having a blessed day. Yes, we are. Bless your heart, my father's doing great. He's 80 years old, alive and kicking. God bless America, and God bless having him here. In fact, I wept tears of joy Sunday morning before I went to bed because I was overwhelmed that I still have my father at his age. Not many people of my age, which is 49, still have their father. Yeah, the chili episode. Yeah, Scott Tenorman got a dose of his own medicine. Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, Cartman became evil. I go, no, he still has moments of goodness. He's more of an anti-hero than he is a villain. So basically, cross between good and bad. And then Wendy, in the first season, had the terrorists come and kill their substitute teacher. So she's worse than Cartman. But yet they give her a pass because she's a little girly. Cartman Wild Boars only give 2 points apiece. Do you have any idea? Yes. Make love, not Warcraft. That episode's amazing. Manual, yeah, I know Zeppelin got accused of stealing. Then again, everybody borrows from everybody. Chicago borrowed from Zeppelin for 25 or 6 to 4. Judas Priest borrowed from Styx for Beyond the Realms of Death. If you listen to the intro of Sweet Madam Blue. Well, Cartman kind of got bullied to the breaking point. He had no choice. He was sometimes when you're bullied and you have no filter, you do things you kind of wind up regretting later. It happens. I mean, some people can handle bullying well, others can't. I mean, I handled bullying as best as I could because I had an older brother. And Sam Nash, how's it going? Sam Nata. Yeah. Cartman. But then he's a lot of episodes he did good. He helped. He saved Kyle's brother from being kidnapped by that sexual predator teacher. Yeah, saved. Risked his own future for his friends. If you caught the COVID two-parter, he risked his own future with his wife and kids, so his friends could have a good future. Yeah, Smoke on the Waters or Beethoven signed backwards. You ain't kidding. And Man on the Silver Mountain's a knockoff of that. Richie Blackmore plagiarized himself. Da 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 da. Great riff. And I actually like Rainbow better than I do Deep Purple. Oh, the Game Wizard, I was talking to Steve about Man on the Silver Mountain, a song from Rainbow. Anyway, Cartman, he risked his future for his friends in the COVID sequel, the two-parter that I watched on streaming. And he was he has a lot of good qualities, but they kind of like to make him the bad guy. But he has a lot of good qualities, and his early season voice is just so funny. I mean, I loved South Park from the get go. Some episodes more than others. I think it was kind of ridiculous that they made fun of Phil Collins in a way. I think they were just jealous they lost the Oscar for best song from a movie. I was like, seriously, dudes? I mean, at least Phil took it all in stride, thank goodness. But um, the thing was when Phil won for Tarzan, that was like the one of the least liked of the three songs he was nominated for best Oscar song. First was Against All Odds. I got robbed by Stevie Wonder's I Just Come to Say I Love You. That damn tune, it was all over the place when I was an 8-year-old kid. Against All Odds is one of the best power ballads of all time. And then Two Hearts Living in Just One Life. Got robbed by Carly Simon, who hadn't had a hit since 1980. Yeah, she was just barely eked a comeback with Coming Back Again with that stupid song from Working Girl. Let the river run. That song, I was like, God, that song was horrible. And then um, they gave it to Phil on the third attempt because they felt bad for screwing him twice. It happens. The Grammys will give the crap, reward crap and shaft good. Look at brothers. Look at. I'm trying to think of a perfect example. Oh yeah, they gave. Yeah, Phil Collins rightfully won Album of the Year for No Jacket Required. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, Can't Slow Down from Lionel Richie. They gave him the award rather than say Purple Rain by Prince or Born in the USA. They gave it to the album that came out at the tail end of '83. Um, Nick of Time by Bonnie Raitt. They gave it to her because they shafted her for so many years. She swept the 1990 Grammy Awards. One of the funniest Grammy Awards I ever watched in my life, especially with Olivia Newton-John and Sam Kinison presenting one of Bonnie's Grammys. It was hilarious because Sam Kinison was being just his typical self. And the winner is, I can't read the names. No, no, oh, ah. He had to not use profanity because he was the rock and roll comedian. And then Olivia Newton-John's British come Australian accent announced Bonnie Raitt's, and the winner is Nick of Time, Bonnie Raitt. Oh my goodness. Oh, yeah. Are you ready? Oh my goodness. Man, oh man, you won't get award shows like that anymore. Kind of stopped watching the Grammys after 1996. That was when Tupac had the original lineup of Kiss Reunite on stage. I thought it was a joke at first, and I heard Gene Simmons' raspy voice and Peter, Chris, and Ace Frehley and Paul Stanley's voices. I'm like, yeah, man, oh man. And that was the Grammys that Alanis Morissette spanked Mariah Carey like an unruly child. Jagged Little Pill swept the Grammy Awards. I mean, Mariah was nominated for like 6 or 7 awards. She lost all 7. Alanis was nominated for all of her awards, won all of them. I was like, sheesh. She was nominated for 4, won all 4. A perfect night for Alanis in rock and roll, although it was alternative rock, but still rock and roll won that night. And pop got its ass spanked like an unruly child. Oh, have mercy. Sheesh. I can't help it. And one Grammy thing I was really perplexed with, yeah, Jagged Little Pill. That was all over the place. My second year of college. I didn't own it, but one of my old friends did, who I almost went out with. Her name was Kristen. She was a sweetheart. And her and I used to joke about our music preferences because she was into alternative and I was a hard rock metal guy. She's like, don't you listen to any current music? I'm like, I'm trying to, but I'm just trying not to be depressed. She goes, Terrence, I'll let you have a pass because not only you're kind, but you're cute. And I go, yeah, but unfortunately, she dropped out before I had a chance to ask her out, unfortunately. But that happens. Sometimes you meet people and they almost seem like the right person, but then before you try to take this friendship to the next level, they leave. But luckily, I remained friends with her, which is all that I cared about. And she apologized for dropping out before I had a chance to get to know her even more. But we remain in touch, thank goodness. It's called I have such a positive impact on people that it's impossible to hate a person like me. I think that's why I've been successful at friendships. Because people are like, oh, Terrence, how can you maintain friendships with people for so many years? I'm like, well, I'm an easy person to get along with. I mean, you put music differences aside, because I'm a rock and roller, we find other things in common. Be friend for life. And the fact that I'm autistic was also another factor why the friendships remained intact. But yeah. And then actually fall of '95, my second year of college, I became a DJ on the radio station. And I played whatever the hell I wanted. Thank you very much, Tina. I really appreciate that. And it was funny that my sophomore year of college, I had more fun than my freshman year. By that point, I had my driver's license. I could drive to and from school. bring albums from home to play on the radio. So I would be playing like lots of Pink Floyd deep tracks. Sometimes, usually you did like an hour or two show, but I sometimes did like 4 or 5 hour shows. Yeah. You were on the air for 5 hours? Yeah. One time I was on the air for 6 hours, and I drank like a carafe of coffee. I was like Dr. Johnny Fever. I was like part Johnny Fever, part Redbeard of In the Studio, and just me. So I was like two parts, you didn't know which personality you were going to get. So when I had to do PSAs, I had to do them in Jerky Boy's voice, which was funny. Because I couldn't say, oh, oh my goodness. I'm reading this. Oh my goodness. As I was saying, it's just trying to keep classic rock alive, especially in the 90s, was kind of tough. Especially when you were musically trapped in a decade or so beforehand. But people loved me anyway. My senior year of high school was even worse. At the height of grunge, trying to be a metal fan was impossible. Because you mentioned Iron Maiden or Dio or Rainbow. The rock band, not the symbol for pride, but the band Rainbow. Richie Blackmore's band named after that bar and grill in Los Angeles, which launched the career of Ronnie James Dio. May Dio lay in peace, the man on the silver mountain. Yeah, music and autism. Does somebody feel a pop punk revival coming? Well, if it's a rock and roll revival, yeah. Rival Sons, one of the more recent bands out there. I'm a huge fan of Rival Sons. I actually saw them open up for Black Sabbath on their what do you call it? Black Sabbath in the end tour, the farewell tour. Old country, yes. Johnny Cash, because he was one of the roots of rock and roll. So old country, yes. So when I say no country or rap nonsense, um, I mean, you know, NWA to me was comedy. I didn't look at it as rap. I looked at it as comedy. Easy E being just swearing. It was like listening to a Richard Pryor record. I mean, some of those old rap lyrics were comedy as far as I was concerned. It was stuff to be not taken quite so seriously. If your kid's brought up properly and raised properly, well, you're going to know the difference between reality and fantasy. Only a kid who's screwed up by either his parents or the school system or a genetic defect will take what they hear seriously to do damage to himself or someone else. God, I sound like Don Henley. That's what he said about heavy metal lyrics. They were comedy. I agree with him. You don't take the lyrics too literally. I mean, that's why you had people like, I mean, and I don't mean to comedy can sometimes be the best kind of music. Music is just something that exposes emotions. I agree, Wyatt. And let's see. It's trying to, like I said, and then on top of that, getting into a band called Crocus, who were a heavy metal band from Switzerland, with the album Headhunter, 12 years after it came out, because I was distracted with other bands. Because being autistic, I had to focus on one band at a time, then go to the next to collect, although still listen to the other bands. I wish you a good night as well, Manuel. It was great to have you on the feed, and another episode in another week or two. Little River Band, first under the wire. The original Little River Band. Not those scabs out there, but Glenn Shorrock, Beat Birtles, and Graham Goble for the win, babies. Woo! As Ric Flair said. I'm the best thing going today, baby. Woo! Oh my goodness. Smacked down by the Lord. Man, oh man, I'm glad I have a moderator to help me deal with this. Dino, if you're one of those bots, make like a tree. Oh, thank you, Tina. I almost lost my temper. I'm glad you're a moderator. Sheesh, I was about to. I almost had to go. Almost went Ric Flair on people. The Nature Boy. Oh my goodness. As I was saying, um, I was with my buddy at a. We're in the days where they had enclosed shopping malls, and he bought Headhunter from Crocus, and I was like, yeah, it's his thing. And then I see it again. And he's like, dude, grab it. I'm like, seriously? He goes, excuse me, the album's great. I'm like, okay, if you say so. I'll take a risk. So I buy the Headhunter album, and I didn't know that the drummer of Crocus at the time was an American who played with Brad Whitford of Aerosmith, and Derek St. Holmes of Ted Nugent in the band Whitford St. Holmes. After Whitford St. Holmes, he did Crocus. And that double kick drumming on Headhunter, I was like, what the heck? And the lead singer sounded like Bon Scott of AC/DC. I'm like, man, oh man, this is killer. And then it was just balls to the wall metal. I'm like, oh my god, why the hell did this album escape my radar? But yeah, I played the piss out of it to the breaking point where they had to retire that album from the radio station, which was WMCI, which is a college radio station I was a DJ on for 50, a number of years until new management came in '98 and forced me out because they didn't want me playing um, progressive rock. They wanted to go new metal. Prejudice against. I'm gonna pin that. Yeah. How do you separate an alternative rock band because of a System of a Down and Radiohead? Oh my goodness. And System of a Down, I tried to like them, but to me it sounded like, what's the word I'm looking for? It sounded like Muhammad Hassan, the wrestler from WWE, his theme song. I like a picture of Stone Cold Steve Austin roasting him. I don't like you, you bug-eyed bastard. With your stupid towel, your stupid beard, your stupid boots. I think you're a piece of garbage. What? Oh my god. Radiohead, aka as my one of my old places that went to one of the record stores I used to go to, the guys called them the poor man's Pink Floyd. I'd have to agree with them because Tom York's voice grates on me. Whereas in Pink Floyd, you had David Gilmour, you had Roger Waters, you had Rick Wright, Sid Barrett on the first album, Nick Mason even did a vocal or two. So it was, alternate lead vocals. I'm a fan of those types of bands. The Eagles had multiple singers, Supertramp, Styx, even Queen. Freddie Mercury may have sung most of the albums, but Brian May and Roger Taylor each got a lead vocal or two per album to give it a bit of variety. The Eagles, Charles Thornton, if you have nothing nice to say, scram. I apologize. Charles Thornton, don't make fun of me. That's all I ask. So I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna. All right. Don't make fun of me. That's all I request. Because we autistic people tend to be hypersensitive when people say things. I mean, REM. Oh my God. I have to quote Dennis Leary, the fellow comedian from my native Mass. I want the shiny people over here, the happy people over here. I represent angry gun-toting, meat-eating people. And I got two words from Michael Stipe, Steven Tyler. Oh my God. Good old Steven Tyler. The screaming demon. Yeah, I can't get my voice that friggin' high. I used to in high school. Not scream like him, but scream like Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden or Jeff Tate of Queensryche. I throw out my vocal cords. Robert Plant of Zeppelin. Oh, the Beatles. Good question. One of my favorite bands. And I said on my, yeah. I mean, the Beatles, if it wasn't for the Beatles, there would be none of the British bands would have happened. The British invasion would not have happened if not for the Beatles. There would have been no rock bands writing and performing their own songs either. Muddy Waters, he was one of the architects of rock and roll, and you can thank him for the Rolling Stones namesake of their band. And he had a lot of great tunes. I Just Want to Make Love to You. I think that was Willie Dixon. Manish Boy. The Stones covered that on I'll Love You Live. Oh man, da 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 da. And even David Coverdale did a mock parody. Da 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 da. I was born with a deviated septum. Da 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 da. Oh my god, that's funny. Good old Dave Clark 5, yes. Unfortunately, Dave Clark 5, whilst they were good, the guitar in Yankee Rose, ass kicking. Sam Cooke, biggest influence on Steve Perry of Journey. Yeah, I knew that. Harry Nilsson was a genius. I mean, yeah, I can overlook everybody's walking, but his song, his version of "Without You," "Jump into the Fire," which was famously used in the movie. What was that movie? Goodfellas. My favorite movie of all time. Goodfellas. Yes. During the paranoia scene. I mean, yeah, John Lennon was right. Harry Nilsson was a talent, and sadly, Harry Nilsson um, was believed his flat in London was cursed because he lent it to what's his name? Oh yeah, Mama Cass, and she died in it. And then a few years later, he lent it to Keith Moon. He's like, no, 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 I don't want to. I don't want to lend it to anyone. And Pete Towns's like, no, no, lightning doesn't strike twice. Keith Moon died in it. It was jinxed. Goodfellas, yeah, it's my favorite movie of all time. Frankie Valli. My dad adores the guy. He loves his music. um, and my dad loved the movie Jersey Boys, which was coincidentally directed by Clint Eastwood. Good old Clint. I mean, Frankie Valli, great talent, but the falsetto does grate on my nerves. I'm more of a mostly fan of singers now that sing in a baritone voice. Yeah, Nilsson Schmilson is a masterpiece. So I tend to listen to Dire Straits more often. And Dire Straits are a phenomenal band. Mark Knopfler, the most underappreciated singer in the history of mankind. Sings in a baritone voice. Oh, hair metal. Kind of a naughty word. But Quiet Riot's Metal Health was not hair metal. It was called heavy metal at the time. They added the hair metal thing in the 90s. But in the 80s, because I'm a kid of the 80s, I was a child, so that makes me technically micro generation XY, those born between 76 and 82, were Zennials. Um, Being an 80s kid, we just saw it as heavy metal. Quiet Riot, Iron Maiden. In fact, Quiet Riot opened for Maiden. They opened for Black Sabbath on the Born Again tour. There's a lot of baritone voice singers out there, Venger. David Gilmour's a baritone. Tommy Shaw's a baritone, but he can sing in the tenor range. He's what you would call a baritone, which means part baritone, part tenor, where you have like a deep speaking voice like this, but you can sing and scream in tenor. That's a fluke. Look at Paul Rogers. He's the most famous baritone in the history of mankind. Although he's naturally a baritone, he can go into tenor range when he sees fit. Let's see. Brothers in Arms, one of the best Dire Straits albums of all time. I just did an episode on that. Love Over Gold, I have an episode from my old show I have to re edit and put it up. Creed. I am not a fan of Creed. I try to like him, but just was missing guitar solos. Marquee, AC/DC, one of my favorite bands of all time. I got to see them on two tours. Stiff Upper Lip in 2001 with the classic lineup. Malcolm Young was still with us. May he lay in peace. Phil Rudd was still there, and Cliff Williams was still there. And then I saw Rocker Bust in 2015. I would have seen them this past tour, the Power Up tour, but unfortunately tickets were gone. Those damn bastards bought every last ticket. Sons of bitches. Yeah. Pearl Jam at least has a guitarist who can shred. Mike McCready. The guitarist in Creed can't even solo to save his life. Mike McCready is one of the best underrated guitarists out there. The only thing about Pearl Jam I was a fan of was Mike McCready's guitar solos. Listen to the solo on Alive or Even Flow. Shows you how great of a guitarist he is. I think Eddie Vedder kind of neutered him in later albums, but Mike McCready, man, oh man, one of the best guitarists out there. And I know a thing or two about kick-ass guitarists. Because when I saw that I could not play the guitar that well, I'm like, well, I still got my drums. But I love my drum kits the size of Texas. I wasn't a fan of playing 4-piece kits. In high school, I took the high school's drum kit and just expanded to like 7-piece, 8-piece, 9-piece, adding big gong bass drums, gongs. No, Minnie McCready and Mike McCready were two different people. Minnie McCready was a sad, tortured soul in the country world. It's a shame that she checked herself out. And Mike McCready was from Seattle. And so forth and so on. Alcatraz, I wish I was a millionaire. Joy Division, I'd have to check more into. I never really got into the thing. Punk fans. I had a bunch of friends in high school that were punk rockers, and they just had my back no matter what the situation entailed. They're like, "Hey, don't make fun of Terrence, man. He's one crazy mother." Yeah, I'm serious. The punk rock kids in high school loved me. They're like, Terrence, you're fucking awesome, dude. Man, oh man. No problem, Tina. I'm glad I could set the record straight. It's just when you're a rock, they don't call me the classic rock brainiac for kicks and giggles. I was called the rock sponge for years, but my ex podcast, Rock Metal Combat, started making fun of me, calling me government sponge, um, parasite, making fun of my name. I'm glad I left those guys. And they're still angry at me that I left all those years ago. I wound up leaving because one of the guys took a shot at my father, saying put my father in a chokehold. I'm like, I'm not going to abuse an elderly father. I'm sorry you lost your dad, but I'm not going to hurt mine over your stupid thing. I know he was kidding, but turned out the guy was. Thank you, Tina. I really appreciate that. It's just the guy one of the guys on that show, just was just a mean, nasty drunk, and having to deal with him, fight with him, something had to give. And the other co-host didn't want me to leave, but then after we had finished recording, I had the audio recorder still going, and he said, "Put your father in a chokehold. Wear a wig." I said, "Hey, it's not my fault I went bald when I was young, but then we accept reviews when people are here." I'm like, I can't uh, grow my hair back. I my hair thin out on top. I'm like, I can't wear a wig. Put your father in a chokehold. I said, "You're the reason why I'm quitting the show, because you can make fun of my face all you want, but you bring up my father, gloves are off. You bring up my family, gloves are off. My family is one of the most important things to me." Yeah, it's Stiltskin was the band, I think, with Ray Wilson of Genesis before he went to Genesis, because he did Calling All Stations, I think, the following year. And Calling All Stations is an underappreciated Genesis album. I think the worst Genesis album was their first one. The only complaint I had about Calling All Stations was the songs faded out prematurely. The songs are actually more fleshed out live than they were studio. Alien Afternoon with an ending guitar solo live was better. Congo with an ending guitar solo, giving the songs a proper finish. Because the album sounded like unfinished demos. Had Genesis carried on with Ray Wilson, I think Genesis would have gotten better again, and so forth and so on. It's just a shame that the American fans did not give him a good enough chance. But again, 1997 was the year of the Spice Girls invading the United States, which in turn spawned those inbred hillbillies from Crocahoma, Hanson. Boy, that's why I think of them. And the Backside Boys. God, I got that from Howard Stern. Stuart Copeland, For the Win. But yeah, my fourth year of college was where the boy band teen queen thing started to manifest itself. Then by my fifth year of college, I was where Twitney and Pistina and Beyonce came into play. Let's see. Personal question: which one do you think would be easier to transition, acoustic guitar to electric, orders to buy electric? Or get a hybrid? Yeah, bop. God. By that point, I was big time getting into the Genesis catalog finally. The first album of theirs I bought was Abacab, then The Way We Walk, then The Lamb Lies Down, The U.S. version of Three Sides Live, Phil Collins, Hello, I Must Be Going. I remember this in chronological order. The Mama album, Invisible Touch. Then I think I had Duke, Trick of the Tail, Way We Walk, Volume 2. Um, and then there were three: Selling England by Wind and Wuthering, Selling England by the Pound, etc., etc., etc. And I was like, we should have. I'm like, if I could have taken the time machine back to the early '80s to see Genesis in their pinnacle, I would have. And Phil Collins, man oh man, one of the best drummers that ever existed. You know, but in the late '90s, Genesis was a naughty word. Oh, we don't like Genesis. So what? I tend to think they're great. The Proclaimers, yeah, the Scotsman. All I can think is that song from yeah, that song turned out yeah, the Proclaimers 500 Miles. That was their only hit here in the states, and it didn't become a hit till 5 years after it was initially released. It was that movie with Johnny Depp and Mary Stuart Masterson. I think, yeah, Benny and June. Oh my goodness. It was funny that a song from 1988 wound up becoming a hit 5 years after its initial release. Wasn't the only time either. Yeah, thank you, Benny and June. I knew that. Yeah, the name of the movie was on the tip of my tongue. It had Johnny Depp and Mary Stuart Masterson. And then the video they made for the song, which was the original '88 video, with the scenes from the movie. At the end of the video, Johnny Depp slides into the camera and goes, "Mommy?" Oh my god. Yeah. Captain Underpants. Boy, oh boy. I should watch Benny and June. It's just I'm more into one of my all-time favorite movies. Always also this is Spinal Tap, the original. Have you ever been to Stonehenge? Those things are 20 feet high. You can stand 4 men on them. This is insane. 20 inches. Forget this. Fuck the napkin. Stonehenge. Oh man, that's one of my favorite movies. Over the Edge with Matt Dillon. That was his first movie from 1979. The Warriors is another favorite. Maybe we'll get to waste a few heads along the way. You're just a soldier. Keep your mouth shut. That's, the warrior. He shot Cyrus. You crazy man. I didn't do nothing. The Warriors did it. Oh, man. You're crazy man. I didn't do nothing. Man, oh, man. Can you dig it? Man, oh, man. Yeah. That music in that movie by Barry Dvorak sets the mood. My favorite character is Ajax. I'm tired. You sure? Yeah, good. I'm sick of running from these wimps. I'll shove that bat so far up your ass I'll turn into a popsicle. And he beat the hell out of those baseball guys, only to get arrested by an undercover cop. Don't around me, lady. And they got hit with a nightstick and goes, fucking wimp. Oh, man. And you've seen that movie so many times, it's not even funny. Yeah, and that song wound up being recorded by the Eagles for the long run in the city. Because Joe Walsh couldn't come up with anything else. They actually had a few other ideas for the long run, but then um, they decided to go within the city and re-record it with the Eagles. Because the Joe Walsh version came in '78, the Eagles came in '79. Sometime in early to mid '79, they re-recorded for the long run. And let's see, Joe Walsh and then the promo video, Joe Walsh was using a custom double neck in standard tuning for the 12 string, and then the 6 string was in E tuning with a bottleneck. Don Felder with his Stratocaster, Timothy B. Schmidt with his bass, Glenn Frey with his piano, Don Henley with that drum kit of his. Lamar Jackson stinks. I hate Lamar Jackson. Thank you very much. And I don't like Twitney Sneers either. She's a poor facsimile of my best friend from college, Danielle. Who, luckily, I'm still friends with her after over 28 years, by the way. And she's from local from here, but was born in Boston, so she has the Boston accent. So I can't do it too good because my accent's a little more muddled. It's more like cross between New England and Old England, my accent, but that's okay. I can't do the park the car in Harvard. Yeah, see, I have a hard time with. I cannot do a backflip. Twitney sneers. Yeah, that's my name for her. And I used to get called, you know, people question my sexuality for not liking her. I said, hey, my best friend from college is a dead ringer for her, except she's not from the South. She's from Boston, A, and B, she's Italian, and also thinks I'm the funniest guy in the planet and the nicest guy in the world, too. And she lost a lot of potential boyfriends over me. And and one of the things is, Italian girls know how to treat their men. That's for sure, especially autistic men. Very protective of me. In fact, wasn't for me, I wouldn't have introduced her in the world of autism. And do I still play drums? Yes, but I had to tone it down a bit because getting older and older, developing tendonitis in my arms is something that really scares me. Because if I have problems with my arms and my arms lock up, I have to now try not play aggressively. But I still play time to time. And I do I play guitar? Hang on a sec. YouTube girl, does this answer your question? Oops. That's the Who's in a Hand or a Face. And of course, I can play this. Ah, sheesh. Shine on You Crazy Diamond. YouTube girl, you better be real. And I can also play this. That's a song I have to play in a different arrangement so I don't get busted by a certain Don Henley. Although Don Felder wrote the music for that. Weezer, a very underappreciated band. They were kind of quirky, funny. Eminem, Fleminem, the master of the Dish Up, I Can't Take It Hall of Fame. Yeah, he had made a career making fun of others, but when you made fun of him, he cried like a little girl. Like, what a baby. My God. Marshall Mathers, the master of the Dish Up, I Can't Take It Hall of Fame. He made fun of Moby. Moby retaliated. Eminem threatened him with physical violence. Basically, the master of the Dish Up, I Can't Take It Hall of Fame. Yeah. So when people, I'm like, don't make fun of me. So when people make fun of me, I'm like, all right, fine, I'll make fun of you back. And if you retaliate, I'll make fun of you even worse until they have to cry uncle. Because I learned they dished, and I had to deal with people who dished at me and couldn't take it. My ex podcast, Taylor Swift. She looks like an ostrich that snorted tons of cocaine. That's my opinion of her. And sold her copyrights to I don't get into these conspiracy theories, but Taylor Swift is just an ostrich, a coked out ostrich, if you ask me. It's true. She's a coked out ostrich. She's an ostrich who looks like she did tons of cocaine. And I guarantee you that Taylor and her boyfriend do tons of blow. That's why she's all. Tina, I forgive you. Sheesh, I forgot the riff. That's Abracadabra by Steve Miller Band. A little country here. Dance, 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 dance all night long. Yeehaw! That's actually a Steve Miller song from Fly Like an Eagle, but I could do it in a country western sort of thing. Do 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 do. Yeah, Lainey Wilson. I'm not a fan of current country. It's called the bro country crap. I'd rather listen to Delia's Gone, one more round. Delia's gone. La 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 da da da. Do 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 do. Ba da 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 da. Johnny Cash when he was produced by Johnny Cash produced by Rick Rubin. Those last few albums of his was great. I think Rick Rubin saved his career. If not for Rick Rubin, Johnny Cash wouldn't have had a ninth life like a cat. Yeah, I know. David Byrne, he's a genius. One of the best. I think it was the best thing about the Talking Heads. I think his autism was one of the reasons why he had to leave and retire from the world of performing with that band. Because how far else were they gonna go? I mean, the last Talking Heads album was in '88, Naked, and I think he knew the band went as far as it could go. That's why he went into other areas. Some people didn't like it, but man, oh man. I mean, most people think of burning down the house. Yeah, first heard of them via the movie. Yeah, the video for that song, and that song was coincidentally in one of my all-time favorite '80s comedy movies, Revenge of the Nerds, where the Alpha Betas burned their dorm down. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory to play David Byrne, or as Nick Mason of Pink Floyd called that phrase, the Big Bong Theory. Oh my god! Oh my god! Good old Nick Mason, Jimi Hendrix. Ah, sheesh. I'm not as fast as him. Yeah, Rick Rubin. Yeah, Rick Rubin, in fact, saved everybody. He saved AC/DC. He got them from away from Bruce Fairbairn. I'll give him credit for that. He rescued the career of Johnny Cash, Neil Diamond, Metallica. Produced Death Magnetic, their best album since the Black Album. Do I like Kendrick Lamar? It's a rock and roll show. Kendrick Lamar, rap? Get out of here. Kendrick Lamar. Boy, do I hate that crap. Yeah. Oh, I like Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar. Sheesh. Boy, it's just like, good thing I'm not a high school student in today's day and age. If I had been a high school student, my 1990 self in school now, I'd be thrown out for, yeah. Yeah. Actually, Anthrax did rock and rap perfectly. Now we're Anthrax and we take no shit and we don't care for writing hits. It's just, here's what we like. I steal your fathers like I stole your socks. Charlie, beat the B2B. Ain't always as hard to smell my feet. Oh, like it just dream the lizard or take a chair. No, it's piss. Now watch the beat. For a heavy metal band raps a different way. We like to be different, not cliche. They say rap and metal can never mix, but all making sucker. Sexual organ located in the lower abdominal area. No, man, it's dick. Oh my god. Or as they did in the live version, suck my motherfucking dick. That's right. AC/DC, Mason Band. Highway to Hell. And I'm doing an episode on Back in Black again. I have to re record it because the original recording I did, uh, I lost it. Now I know to use live recordings Orange versus Marshall amps. Make it a three-way. You forgot to put in high watt. That's my favorite amplifier, high watt. High watt. The amplifiers that made Pete Townsend, David Gilmour, even the pinnacle era of Styx ass kicking. Yeah, the second half of Road to Hell was great. The first half kind of was too long, but the second half, which was the single here in the States on rock radio back in the day, yeah, it was when it was called album oriented rock radio, when they would play songs like Road to Hell. The second half of the song was great when the drums kicked in, and then he did like a dual guitar solo at the end, which was him shredding and dueling with himself playing slide. So I'm like, the second half is better than the first. Road to Hell Part 2, I guess you'd call it, but it was called Road to Hell when they aired it on MTV. When it stood for music television. And yeah, let's see. And of course, you had Warren Zevon who had a song like this. Run Straight Down. That was from Transverse City. And that song featured David Gilmour on the guitar. No wonder I love that tune. Eli, I agree, Eli, but can you take that post down because I don't want to upset people who don't agree? Much appreciative. Thank you very much. Because I'm trying to be apolitical here. Thank you, Tina. I really appreciate that because I know there's a lot of people who don't share the same political views, but I don't want politics affecting. Thank you for that as well. Am I live tomorrow? Hard to tell. I'm editing my episodes, and I have to take care of my father. Eli, one more political post, I'm going to have to reluctantly throw you out. Thank you very much. Venger Umaguma is an underappreciated Pink Floyd album. A lot of people don't like it. I guess they never heard the Zabriskie Point stuff. Now that's worse. I mean, the stuff that was released on the original album was the worst, but the outtakes were better. When they released the outtakes in the album, oh yeah, Antonioni didn't like it. One of those outtakes turned out to be Us and Them from Dark Side of the Moon. Bless him. Yeah. Zevon. He was a genius. Lawyers, Guns, what was that album? Excitable Boy, Werewolves of London, Sentimental Hygiene was another great one from '87. Neil Young played on it. Leave That Monkey Alone. Relics is a great record, great compilation. It was actually the third Pink Floyd compilation I had. I had a collection of great dance songs first, then I had Works, then I got Relics. Once I was collecting the entire catalog, Lawyers, Guns, and Money, the shit has hit the fan. That song rolls. You wouldn't be able to play that on the radio now because you'd have to come up with a cheesy edit to get that word out. Leave songs as is. You know, that's why I think both political parties are a damn joke. Werewolves of London? Yeah. Werewolves of London. Or as I used to jokingly say, because I tried to do the howl, it came out like a beagle. Arrrr, beagles of Quincy. Arrrr. Like it's Snoopy. Oh my goodness. Snoopy. That lovable dog on Charlie Brown. As I'm just... Let me see if I can play this. Since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball. From Seoul down to Brighton, I must have played them all. I ain't seen nothing like it in any amusement hall. That deaf, dumb, and blind kid sure plays mean pinball. He's a pinball wizard, has to be his whist. A pinball wizard's got such a supple wrist. Did Nate get banned? I don't think so. I think we might have banned. I think we did ban Nate because Nate was trying to turn it into a political pissing contest. I mean, I don't want people getting into politics here. I mean, I have my views and I keep them to myself. I wish more people did. Because I learned that here's my thing on politics. Oh, good. Because I have to say this, Tina. Getting political is a surefire way to cause friction and a surefire way to cause division and to lose half your fan base. I sound like the great Dennis DeYoung of Styx. Good old Dennis DeYoung. He said it best. Getting too political is going to alienate half of your fan base or all your fan base. Because traditionally, both the left and the right had great ideas. And when they came together, let me explain this. When they came together, we had this great world we live in. But now you're either too far here or too far there, and there's no middle ground. And people can say what they want about Ronald Reagan. He was my childhood, so he was the last president which won every state in the United States except for Minnesota, not once but twice. And his cabinet was full of Democrats and Republicans. They worked together. It was the old guard back in the day. Exactly. I agree with you, Tina. I'm just making an analogy of how different things were when I was a kid, when I was a child. I sound like an old bastard, don't I? I sound like I'm in my rocket chair. When I was a kid. Yeah, when I was a kid, music fucking ruled. Pardon me, folks, but it did. Nowadays, everyone's like, oh, you have to dig hard. I'm like, it's hard to do when they suppress rock music. And the fact that you don't like hearing things like this. I don't have fast fingers so I can play. I guess I'm not a good rhythm player, but I cannot play lead to save my life. I can do this. Yeah, I have, I guess, what you call David Gilmour fingers when it comes to guitar soloing, because I cannot play like Eddie Van Halen. I guess the closest thing I could do, I Want to Die Easy. It sounds like In My Time of Dying. Well, 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 so I can die easy. Da da da. Yeah, it's also In My Time of Dying, which Bob Dylan did, and then Led Zeppelin redid it, turned it into an 11-minute epic with Jimmy Page's spastic slide guitar playing, John Bonham's thunder and drums, John Paul Jones on fretless bass, and Robert Plant singing his ass off. And that was all done in one take, the instrumental backing track, with no edits. It was one take, except for some guitar overdubs and some vocal overdubs. It was one take. No edits. Can't believe we've been doing this live chat on Autism Pride Day for almost 2 hours. I mean, most if you were, oh my goodness, seriously, Dell, you gonna write something like that? There's good and bad people in every walk of life, dude. You can be, you know, it doesn't make a difference if you're black, white, green, yellow, pink, blue, purple, or red. It's in Wahira that counts. Mick Karn was a great bass player. It's a shame he died early, because I watched the performance of The Prince's Trust 1982. He was in the house band with Phil Collins and Pete Townsend. Kicked a lot of ass. The Wedding List with Kate Bush in one of her few live performances. Phil Collins playing drums for Kate. That was quite a spectacle. And then, in fact, her bra came off and she kept on singing, holding her bra. Bless your heart, Wenger. It's, now that autism awareness is more prevalent now than it was when I was your son's age. It's good for me to share my experiences with autism. Because back when I was diagnosed in 1979, there was no autism awareness back then. They wanted to put me on heavy duty meds, and I want to give my parents and I bless the good Lord above. I don't mean to sound religious, but I am a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. And he said, you know, we're going to make Terrence live life as normal as possible. So they didn't put me on any medications. The doctors I had at that point thought my parents were nuts. But my parents persevered. Then that doctor got fired. Then another autism lady who I am forever grateful to, Dr. Braden, who's now retired. She's responsible for me being where I am today. Because I swear, if it hadn't been for her, I don't think I'd be where I am now. And he, she was a lady, wonderful lady, learned that inpatient hospitalizations for me was not a good idea. Because, when my family visited and they left me, I'd freak out because I didn't like being away from my family for prolonged periods of time because I got homesick. And my doctor said, well, how about we do outpatient visits? I go, what does that mean? She goes, outpatient means you can come here for tests during the day, but go home to your family and friends at night. And I said, that's fine. My parents agree to that. And sometimes I'd have to take a day off or so from school for progression of the autism. And I had to go through speech classes, speech therapy, you name it. I went through it, and I was in class with regular kids, with the ADD kids and various other things. So I was too advanced for the very special needs kids. I was too advanced. So then I was in regular phys ed. That was a chore, but I loved a challenge because to me, adaptive phys ed was too simple. It was like I'm like I want a challenge. So pushing and I had a gym teacher in junior high. ABA therapy. I don't think that existed back then, but my gym teacher in junior high was great, and he always encouraged me to take part and help me, you know, be more athletic, which I did. And he was like, some of the cool kids in like playing with me on the team. He actually teamed up with me in volleyball one time, and we actually beat the other students, and we embarrassed them. The teacher teaming up with the autistic student. I'm forever grateful to the guy. And his wife was actually my resource room teacher in junior high, and she got me out of a harrowing situation, to say the least. That was the time I beat the crap out of my eighth grade homeroom teacher for two reasons. A, he called one of my best friends, who was female and large framed, and was a family friend, called her a word that rhymes with runt. I don't want to say it, but you all know what I mean. He said it to my face. Then the same teacher throws me out because I uttered F this to watching a Star Trek movie under my breath. Then I get back to the homeroom, hid underneath the table. I had to go to the resource room for punishment, timeout. Much appreciative. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I had two tough as nails parents plus seven older siblings and friends that never gave up on me. And that friend I stuck up for, she became a best friend. And I was the only one in our high school class she invited to her wedding, but I didn't go in the end because my sister wanted me over for dinner. And the friend was he called the guy that made fun of my friend, called her, calling her the c word. A fat rhymes with fat c word, I might add. Then called me a word that rhymes with the dreaded R word. That was his gravest mistake. I had a pen in my hand. I threw it like a baseball. Missed his head by like 3 inches. Hit the chalkboard. I got up, ran for the door. He grabs me. I bullshit, I literally beat the piss out of the guy. Yeah, I mean, I made him look like a jerk. The last thing you want to do is provoke an autistic man into a meltdown. He got in. My resource room teacher went to bat for me and saved my ass. That's why I never got suspended. Teacher said, he was provoked. He said a few things to him, said a few things to his friend. So the principal stood by me. I was in eighth grade anyway. And then that friend knew what to do whenever I got upset in high school. She would just say what's wrong and just, I'd just explain. And she's like, well, Terrence, you can change, you can learn from your mistakes just as long as, you can either learn from your mistakes and move ahead, or keep dwelling upon it. Don't hurt yourself, because slamming your head into a locker to try to get an old memory out is just hurting you rather than. I'm like, I agree. And the friend was, I mean, she was in student council, but in high school, but a very great friend I might add. And again, had to stick up for me more than once or twice, especially when I got in trouble, when I would get in a little bit of trouble for my unconventional behavior, to say the least. And that friend, mercifully, was a non-smoker, non-drinker, health nut, health and fitness nut. I might add. People used to make fun of her for her size, but she's now a mother of two, married, and I try not to interrupt in the life, but it's always good to have friends like that. And the first time she saw me with my head shaved, which was in dead of winter in '94, she asked me why. I said, "Well, I'll talk to my older brother. He shaved my head, and he shaved his head." And she's like, "Oh, the big brother puts the little brother up to the challenge." I go, "Yeah, just as long as you don't." I'm like, remember eighth grade? I goofed on Hitler. She goes, "Oh yeah, how can I forget, Terrence?" Um, so I thankfully never became a Nazi or any of that crap. If anything, I like to make fun of it. And roasting Adolf Hitler was one of my biggest honors. Uh, I was Adolf Hitler. I had the voice of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I had a stupid little goofy mustache, and I would go Sieg Heil. I sounded like. Yeah, I mean, I use the word concentrate instead of another phrase because the other phrase, someone would say it, and yeah. Thank you, Tina. I really appreciate you getting rid of that dude. Focusing, concentrating. I use those terms instead. The intro sales of Sharon. I never heard that track. Wish I did. I mean, JCM Led Zeppelin stories. He knows more guitar than me. Excuse me, and he's 11 years younger than me, and he's amazing. And he's the reason why I kind of up my A game of doing this of my podcast is because of him, Michael Borland. Bottom line, those two guys got me, helped me move on from that rock metal combat group, and my friends along the way in real life, they were always there for me no matter, even if I did something stupid, and let me know I did something stupid, never gave up on me. You know how that is. And yes, some of the early '70s Scorpions is okay, but everything from Love Drive up through Worldwide Live was a masterpiece. Yeah, Love Drive is where they went to Harvest Records in the UK, Mercury here in the States, because RCA was a very bad record label for rock and roll unless your name was Elvis Presley. Bowie had a problem with RCA. Styx had a problem with RCA, with the Wooden Nickel subsidiary. The Kinks, that's why they did rock operas to get out of their contract. And once they did the rock operas, uh, once they did the rock operas, they got out of their contract, went to Arista, went to the arena rock thing. They finally conquered America on their own terms in 1977 with Sleepwalker. That's why I like those Arista Records albums. Yeah, Bowie with Nine Inch Nails. It must have been a hell of a gig. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. Oh my god, that song was actually the following album. That was Earthling. Outside was the name of the album in '95. Man, oh man, that was the first David Bowie tour he did not play stadiums because in 1987 he was playing football stadiums. 1990, same thing. Then 1995 he was playing the went back to the amphitheaters and theaters, and eventually went back to sports arenas before he passed on. My favorite Bowie albums: Station to Station, Low, Heroes. Scary Monsters also. Favorite live album, Welcome to the Blackout or Stage, or actually both. And Let's Dance because it was my introduction. And I also love the live Serious Moonlight 83. And I may be shot for this Glass Spider Live 87 Montreal. Reason being is because the Never Let Me Down material had actual drums, no drum machine. Ashes to Ashes, classic. And a real bass player out of Carmine Rojas, one of the best bass players in the world. He's awesome. He was Bowie's bass player from 83 up through 88. And on the drums was Alan Childs, who played like a lunatic. And that was the tour that resurrected Peter Frampton's career. Because Peter Frampton literally played the first song off stage, which was uh, Glass Spider. And Bowie came down from the rafters sitting in a chair talking about the glass spiders, and then singing into a telephone. Then he grabbed a wireless microphone, and started singing. And Peter Frampton was playing his guitar solos off stage, and then he climbed up to the top of a podium, did the ending solo, and the crowd went insane. Bowie had faith in Frampton when Frampton was not a good name. Peter Frampton was an amazing guitarist. Jim Gordon, yeah, had mental health issues. They made Sid Barrett look like Mr. Rogers by comparison. I don't condone a guy that killed his mom. Phenomenal, great session drummer, though. He played with Jackson Browne, Derek and the Dominoes, did Alice Cooper's Goes to Hell album. He played on the last two songs, I'm Always Chasing Rainbows and Going Home. Great album, I might add. The rest of the album was Alan Schwartzberg. But he was a troubled soul. Yeah, I hope they don't remake Labyrinth. Staying off the grid. You looking for trouble, bud? Look, man, if you're gonna try and piss me off, you're picking on the wrong guy. Staying off the grid. Just because I'm bald doesn't equate that I am a sausage jockey. Oh, Tina, thank you very much. I was about to turn to Roddy Piper for a sec. Sheesh. A lot of people looking for trouble. Picking on the wrong guy. Hard to believe I've been doing this stream for over 2 hours now. And let me check here for a sec. I'm back. Yeah. Yeah. Some people do need hobbies. Because last I checked, bald heads don't equate. Yeah. It is a thing, Tina. Most trolls, they live under the bridge, complain about the three Billy Goats gruff. Yeah. They're like, oh, we don't like the goats climbing over the hill. We don't like the goats climbing over the hill. We don't like the goats. We don't like the goats. That's Billy Goat's gruff for you. One of my favorite poems when I was a kid. God, I sound like an old bastard. I don't know. I don't have fast fingers. I cannot play Master of Puppets. I mean, I could try on the drums, but unfortunately, I don't have a drum kit anymore. My electronic kit shorted out. Yeah, I played so hard that the damn thing's short circuited. That's what happens when you buy electronic percussion made in China. If it was made in Japan, it would still work. Square Pusher. I never heard that. I mean, I'd have to listen to. I mean, if you want a Metallica song, here. Oops. Sheesh. That's all I know on the guitar. For this, I also know. One is a great tune, you're damn right. System of a Down. I don't like their music. To me, it sounds like I'm listening to Muhammad Hassan in WWE back in 2005. That was before they killed the character off because of the bombing in London. Yeah, The Undertaker had to choke slam him through a ring, through a stage, to kill the character off. I'm the Undertaker. Rest in peace. Long live Undertaker. Just trying to figure out what else I can play on the guitar here. I have this as well. That's the outro to, that's 1958 by Styx. The chords to it. Then the solo would be. That was 1958 from Styx from the Paradise Theater album. That's the. Thank you very much. Mr. Roboto. The song that did not kill Styx. In fact, Styx got more fans because of it. That was actually the opening song of the subsequent album. That was the song I played from. It was from Paradise Theater. Yeah, I'm going to be doing an episode on Kilroy and to set the record straight on all the bullshit that was spewed about that album. Oh, they were booed off the stage. Biggest bunch of BS I heard because I've listened to countless bootlegs of that tour. The crowd went ape. The crowd loved it. Predominantly classic rock. Thunderkiss 65. A poor man's version of the Immigrant Song by Zeppelin. Dun, 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 dun. All I can think of is, I come from the land of the ice and snow with the fun. Rockin' the Paradise. How about this? Gosh. That answer your question there, sir? Yeah. Paradise Theater was the first Styx album I ever owned on vinyl when I was 7. The Kilroy album cover was Nightmare Fuel, and I didn't own that album until 1995. You'll hear more about my love of the album and why I was late to the party. It had nothing to do with the music, but it was the cover that was my nightmare fuel. And Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne was the other album cover that used to petrify me. As was the video for The Dogs of War by Pink Floyd with those German shepherds with those yellow eyes. and Scott Page hitting that altissimo, extremely Lenny Pickett high note on the saxophone drove me nuts. Oh, I'll tell you, here's a time I can play. Yeah, the Dogs of War video from Momentary Lapse of Reason. And it was the live version from Atlanta. A performance that was subpar. Luckily, they did a better performance on Delicate Sound, released a year later. And I didn't know that Storm Thurgeson manipulated the eyes of German Shepherds. And here's an irony about those dogs. Those dogs in the video, the German Shepherds, my family had them. And they're great dogs. It's just sometimes when you throw yellow eyes on them, they look creepy. But without the yellow eye filter, German Shepherds are the most lovable, loyal dogs you could think of. I miss my German Shepherds. They were great dogs. Let's see. David Gilmour's guitar solo was played on the Steinberger on the studio track. Live version was the Candy Apple Red Strat with the EMG pickups, which set him more BB King like, which I like better anyway. And then Scott Page doing that insane saxophone. Man, oh man. Those, I don't know, it's just altissimo notes from a saxophone just drive you nuts. Especially if you're Lenny Pickett and you're doing that every damn song you play on. I mean, look at No Mercy from the Tubes from Remote Control. His over-the-top sax playing, I'm like, God, enough already. Luckily in live versions, as of late, Roger Steen does a guitar solo, which I think suited the song better anyway. And the song All Revved Up from Meatloaf. I'm not a major Meatloaf fan, but Edgar Winter's saxophone ruined it on Bad to Hell. The guitar solo done by the late Bob Kulick in live performance back in '78. Ass-kicking. Then again, Bob Kulick was the brother of Bruce Kulick, who was in Kiss. So the Kiss connection. When they would be shredding like crazy, they would just... Yeah. And I'm learning... I mean, I can play the riff... I can also play High Hopes, which is very easy. Ah, sheesh. Ah, sheesh. I can just play with my fingers. Happy birthday to your friend Baljeet. High Hopes, one of the best songs Pink Floyd did. It's my second favorite Pink Floyd track after Shine On. All 9 parts, I might add. Man, oh man, I can listen to Pink Floyd all day and not ever get bored, especially when you go to live versions from bootlegs. That's an eye-opener. Alternate mixes of those songs, different mixes, different solos. Most people just don't know that. Soundtrack to the film more. Underappreciated. Obscured by Clouds, top 10 Pink Floyd album. Most people may not put it in their top 10, but I do. Everyone's like, oh, how can you put Obscured by Clouds in your top 10? Einstein. I think because I heard Free 4 on the Works compilation, I took a gamble on Obscured by Clouds a week after hearing Metal on WZLX, albeit side 1 on the radio and then side 2 on a concert echoes. Animals. Here's an interesting story. Pigs 3 Different Ones was cut in half on the cassette version. So you get the first verse on side 1, then it fades out, then it fades back in the beginning of side 2. It drove you insane. Yeah, I have another Pink Floyd episode in the works, 6. I'm going to be airing the 50th anniversary of Wish You Were Here soon. And the following week, I'll air the 10th anniversary of David Gilmour's penultimate solo album, Rattle That Luck, an album that I love. I know JT Curtis didn't like it. Well, Game Wizard, punch in YouTube, punch in any Pink Floyd tour you can. 1977 is my go-to, the Animals tour. First set is Animals Live. Second set is Wish You Were Here Live. Part 8 of Shine On You Crazy Diamond differed every night because David Gilmour and Snowy White would be trading guitar solos. You wouldn't get the same solo every performance. Those two are like, let's go off script here. So David would be playing a solo, and then Snowy would be going, I don't have fast fingers. I cannot play Johnny B. Good. I wish I could. I can play the basic chords of Johnny B. Good, which is the chords to Johnny B. Good. Sid Barrett tune, Effervescent Elephant. Favorite solo track? Yes, I agree. I also love Terrapin. I also love Dominoes, Baby Lemonade. The second Barrett album is a masterpiece. 15-year-olds trying to play Pink Floyd and Styx. Hey, sir, you're not a bad guy. You're keeping rock and roll alive. Because when I was your age, I was given crap for not kowtowing to the powers that be, listening to all the great rock and roll bands. Because being a fan of those bands, Careful of the Axe Eugene, Best Floyd Improv. My favorite version is Live at Pompeii, which they just re-released on CD and vinyl a month and a half ago. And my other favorite live version, I may be shot for this, 1977 Oakland Coliseum, where Rick Wright had to use a Hammond organ and a Mini Moog synthesizer. That version was amazing. Yeah. Live at Pompeii, amazing. And yeah, and Bark at the Moon was my first lesson not to be petrified of an album cover. The Bark at the Moon sleeve by album by Ozzy Osbourne. The sleeve scared me, the video scared me, so they took the sleeve away, just put the album on. Changed my life. And then I got Diary of a Madman next. Pompeii, one of the greatest live concerts of all time. You got that right. I also have The Wall, Nassau Coliseum, 1980. I have just about all of them. And my other favorite band aside Pink Floyd is Rush. Exit Stage Left, one of the best concert films. It's a shame it was only an hour of their 2-hour gig. So unfortunately, Temples of the 2112 intro, Free Will was never filmed. Camera Eye wasn't filmed. All of YYZ or YYZ was not filmed either. Man, oh man. I was 5 years old when Moving Pictures was released. My oldest sister had it on vinyl. Played the piss out of it. Then, man, oh man. Moving Pictures. Boy, oh boy. Ugh. I've seen Rush about 5 times. Sublime. Yeah, I don't like him. It's a shame that, Brad Knoll. Man, oh man. Yeah, Rush is amazing. Permanent Waves. It was actually the fourth Rush album I owned. First was Moving Pictures, then Power Windows, then Farewell to Kings. Do I like Yes? Does a bear defecate in the woods? My favorite Yes albums: Fragile, Close to the Edge, Topographic Oceans, Relayer, Drama. The Yes album, Going for the One. Everything they did from 1971 up through 83, they did no wrong. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Sorry if I'm yawning. I had to forego eat my dinner to do this live view, but I didn't mind. Especially doing autism awareness stuff. Just fun. Hard to believe I'm almost done with almost in the 3-hour range. And 57 likes. This is the most successful stream I've had so far. Promoting the show. I'm glad and I'm blessed that you're all now subscribing, joining, and I will have a new episode coming soon. I gotta pause and stop this because my camera's running low on my phone. A and B, I'm starting to feel fatigued because it's 11. I like some older stuff about like Dio, Sabbath, and Metallica. Of course, I do as well. Flying the flag for Dio and Sabbath, all eras in '94, almost impossible. But I did. And I don't regret it. Appreciate that, Tina. So I have to pause for now, but I'll be back in a few days' time. Tina, let me know when your stream come back so I can follow you. Thank you very much. Next episode will be coming soon. As I got episodes on the Low River Band, Queen, Rush. I appreciate that, Tina. Appreciate everyone being here. You all rule. You rock. And I appreciate that, Gary. Check out my podcast episodes. They're all great. Have a good night, buddy. Have a good night, people. God bless you all. And I'll see you on the next stream to promote the next episode, either that or the next episode. And Tina, I love you. I'm glad you're my mod to keep all those bully buggers off. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good night. Take care of yourselves. God bless you all. Good night. God bless you.